Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Good Love Podcast, a Good Love project production with your friendly neighborhood sex geek and good lover, Katrina Boots Rainsong. Here at the GLP, we strive for informed, enthusiastic consent, so this is your content warning. The Good Love Podcast is a sex and relationship education podcast directed to adult listeners. We offer playful, powerful, and positive education on sexuality, pleasure, kink, sexual health and wellness, and a slew of other grown and sexy topics. If you find any of these topics objectionable, you're welcome to skip an episode or even the whole show. If you're under 18, we recommend heading over to scarletine.com for all youth-focused sex ed needs. Now, if you're an enthusiastic yes, get comfy and enjoy the show.
Happy hump day, my good lovers. It's Kat here, and if you cannot tell by my voice, I am feeling under the weather. I'm just not used to the new pollens up here in Colorado. My allergies are kicking my ass, and I'm behind. So rather than our regularly scheduled episode that we had planned for this week, I am dipping into my backlogs of pre-recorded material for you guys, and I feel like this kind of episode is kind of its own series. Kink journeys. I don't really even want to call this an interview. It's a conversation. It's a lovely conversation between me, the wonderful, incomparable Vana X, who has been on the pod before, and our lovely friend Smokey the Babe. We get real and vulnerable. Smokey shares her kink intro journey, what it was like for her coming from a very sheltered and conservative background to the amazing badass dom that she is now, and the wonderful relationship she has with her husband. We also touch on topics like being a parent and a kinkster and sex positive parenting. There's a lot of good stuff in here, so here's your chance to be a fly on the wall and enjoy the conversation.
So when you asked me the other day, I wanted to talk about just how I used to be a wallflower, and then like finding myself and being like true to myself, and like, you know what, it's okay to like all of this stuff, because I'm from Missouri, Bible Belt, Midwest. My mom, everybody's still Pentecostal religion is what I was raised in, and so like I was raised that all of this was right, even having the thoughts were wrong, and so like I did that for a long time. I'm like, man, this is not me. Like I was like fighting between like trying to be that mom, stereotypical mom, wife, like all the things. So when you guys asked me that, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my gosh, so many people are scared of all of this. Just the idea of it, just the thought of it gets scary. Mm-hmm. And so it's great to like let people know that it's okay to like have the thoughts, have the things, and enjoy the hell out of it, because it is a blast. Like once I finally let go, I was like, oh, this is everything I never knew I needed. Like, you know, and I feel wholer now that I'm in this community and found great people that can, you know, help me along here and there. And so it's amazing. There's a ton of people out there that are scared. I mean, a lot of them were at my birthday party, and they were so scared, and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought. And I'm like, it's never what you think. Like, It's just about that release, control, consent, you know, all of it. And it's a blast. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go into like that, but that's exactly what I thought. Like when you said that, I was like, man, is that too much? Or, but that's the first thing I thought was that.
That's a great starting off point, great topic. And like, it's funny you bringing that up, because literally, like, just a little while before you got here, and I were talking about the idea of being kinky being an orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And you were mentioning, like, a study that you came across.
Yeah, it was, God, now I have to find the link and like back this up. That's the one thing I've been really hesitant to like get on audio or video because I'm like, oh shit, that means I have to do like all the other work to like back up everything I'm saying, which I have no problem doing. I'm not like talking out of my ass, but it's just like, oh, I'm creating work for myself.
I mean,
that might turn into a subtask now.
Right.
yeah, it's like exactly. Put your sub to it, like, you know, and also like I'm the editor and producer of this show, so it's also partly on me too. So, like,
yeah,
I hate, because I gotta say, it's mini rant. Podcasts that give almost no information, like no show notes or anything like that. I'm just like, do you not understand that there are those of us that are like, but I need more. I want more.
Mm-hmm.
I need to now follow up with this amazing
dive deeper
thing
into
that you
it.
just talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this study, it was kind of just like gathering information. It wasn't looking to like answer specific questions. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that had popped up is somebody had mentioned identifying like as their sexuality being kinky. And more in like recent years, there's been like more people coming forward and using this as a sexual orientation. And I know like I think that's probably the direction that we are heading in, that it's going to be more normalized.
Absolutely. And I think it's important too, like, one of the other things that we're seeing is people recognizing that, like, what gender you're attracted to is only one small part of overall orientation, and the orientation actually is, like, multiple levels, because there's also, like, your romantic orientation, right? First, like, one, like, are you romantic or aromantic? But also, like, some people might be bi-romantic, but, or, like, bisexual, but homo-romantic, or what have you. And then there's also the levels of, like, your sociosexual orientation, like, how comfortable or drawn to, or are you to, like, say, being open to hookups versus needing to, how well you need to know someone before you become intimate with them. And also, separate from that, how much level of commitment do you need from someone to be comfortable being intimate with them? Yeah. And so all these pieces together, like, make up your overall orientation. I went to like a talk once and it was called 7 Billion Orientations, because there's 7 billion people on the planet. And really, it's all, like, when it gets down to it, you are nirvana sexual.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Like,
and also not just that I'm nirvana sexual, it's like every interaction I have with somebody, it's like a little like potion jar, and like it's kind of filling it up with different things on my shelf of like what I want, or from that relationship dynamic, situation, connection. And it's not going to look the same as it will with somebody else or in a group or in anything like that.
Totally, yeah. And you're a little bit of a different person each time too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Well, you take a piece of every experience, with you. That's all part of it, right? I mean,
we hope anyway. I don't know, like, people will say that line when they've been in a relationship for a long time, like, oh, this, you know, you're not the person that I married. I'm like, I'm glad that the person that I was when I got married absolutely loved the person that I was getting married to, and who I am now absolutely loves the person that I am married to now, which is technically the same person, but like, I at 40 would not want to be married to like the 20-year-old that I married if I had been married at 20 and together for 20 years, which is not the case. Right. Actually, we're coming up on 10 years though, so yay.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to, like, do you mind sharing? Yeah, okay, because you've also been with your partner for a really long time.
We'll be celebrating 22 years in April.
Hell yeah.
And we are neither one the same person, which is great. I read a thing the other day and I loved it, and it was saying I'm on my 32nd husband. Yeah. Because it's a different person. I'm a different person, and we have gone through these stages, and not luckily, hard work actually, but we have managed to stay pretty copacetic with each other. Like, he's making big moves in his world, I'm making big moves in my world, and we do end up coming together at the end of the day, you know, and both of our worlds are meshing. Like, sometimes it's tougher because he's totally corporate, like, that whole thing. And then I'm all of this funness. And then, so it's fun to mesh them together. But so many people don't understand it. We have friends that don't understand the way we live because we're married and this, but then other people are just like, oh, that's the way I want to be. And I'm like, you don't know what we were 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, we didn't know if we were going to make it. I mean, honestly. And now it's like, you didn't see the whole process. Like you just see what's great now because we both worked at it really hard to help each other build. And so, yeah, it's a lot of work, as you know, being married so long. Yeah, I mean, totally. Even you don't have to be married. Just being with the same person for so long, like you have to adjust. You know, move and adjust, and with each other.
Yeah,
is
right.
The key, so.
It's like a relationship is a living thing. Living things grow, and growth is change.
Yes.
And the amount of fucking plants I have killed does not mean it's going to survive. So I had a question. So like you've been together 22 years. When did you guys start like exploring within the kink BDSM community? Was it one-on-one first, or was it right into community? So it was one-on-one first.
Okay. So
please tell me it was 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, it was very similar. It was very similar. So he actually, so again, Missouri girl, church family, all the things. He was a country boy, lived out in a town with like literally a flashing light. Like there's like one grocery store, so that's how different we are. And when we got together, he actually took me to my first adult store because I was 18 or I was 19 when we got together. He took me to my first adult store. I was completely overwhelmed and loved it at the same time. Like I was afraid to show it because I was like, oh my god, like this is everything my mom said. Like I'm going straight to hell. I just know it. But then I was feeling aroused, like, okay, so I know what my brain's telling me, but I also know what my body's doing, being here in the store, and he's very careful about it, like, let's look at this, and kind of ease me into it. And so, literally, the first porn I ever watched was an anime, because he didn't want to scare me with, like, real people porn,
That's a really interesting take, because I think anime is way more terrifying.
I was just like, that is an interesting choice.
Well, he was like, I don't want you to feel bad about, like, all the things we had talked about, like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I want to watch porn, because I'm not going to be that, whoever it is we're watching, like, that's not what this is going to be. And a lot of people need to know that, like, this is kind of a weird off the subject. My son's 18, and we told him when we caught him watching porn, we were like, nothing will live up to this expectation. Okay. So you have to, like, nothing wrong with watching it. Like, we didn't scold him or anything, but we were like, the world isn't really like this. Like, you have to remember that this is just like a movie. It's not going to be all fun and, the way that, I'm like, you have to understand that reality is not like that. And so we need you to know that there's nothing wrong with doing it, but just know that real life is not like that.
Yeah. No, that actually is a really important conversation. Yeah. And we're starting to talk about that more as part of, like, sex positive parenting and stuff, is having that conversation, especially with kids, like, having their own cell phones. And even if you don't give your kid a smartphone,
is at
their friend is going to have a smartphone. And you can put all of the parental blocks that you want on your kid's phone, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to see something on their friend's phone.
Exactly.
So you have to start having that conversation to know, like, it's porn literacy.
It is. And we made sure to not scold him, because we were like, it's natural to want to explore yourself, But we were always very open with him. Even when he was a kid, like, I had, like pretty nudes up in our room, even way back when he was a baby. And my mom got onto me. She's like, I can't believe you're letting him live around this. And I'm like, I'm not, this isn't Hustler. I don't have a Hustler cover on my wall. It's like beautiful, bodyscapes. And she was like, well, he doesn't need to see it. I'm like, Mom, he's 1 year old. He doesn't even know he's looking at, and there's nothing, and I was trying to get her to understand that. I wanted him to understand that the human body, there's nothing wrong with it, because I have fought with it so much internally. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just because of the way I was raised. And so I was like, I'm going to do these little baby things that I know in my mind are right. I might not be able to explain them to somebody, but I'm like, I want him to have this around so that way he doesn't objectify women, know that it can be beautiful, and it doesn't have to be all, oh, let me look at the centerfold, or, you know what I mean? But that's how my mom looked at it. She walked into my room and just basically, like, saw Hustler covers, like, even though that's not what it was. But in her mind, that's what we were doing, is like, And so, it was crazy. It was crazy growing up out there. But anyway, I don't remember how we started that. That was he's 18 now. Going. He's like a great kid. We've always been open with him. Yeah. And we would rather tell him, like, people are like, oh, you didn't call it this or that. I'm like, no, I call it a penis. Like, or, you know, like, I called it what they are because we wanted him to know the right way from us because we knew he was going to get some mutilated version from one of his friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's going to... They don't know. They don't know. So we wanted to tell him for real, like, what everything was. When he had questions, we answered him. Yeah. Sometimes it was very awkward, but we did it. Like, we got through it, and just because we wanted him to be knowledgeable about it and not, like, most of those, you know, high school jock dudes that are just assholes about everything. We didn't want him to, we wanted him to be informed.
Everything is the vagina.
Yes. Exactly.
Every piece is the vagina.
Yeah.
Like, dude, there's so much more. I do all of it.
I grew up in a very, very progressive home. I grew up in a polyamorous home. We didn't call it that. It was like the don't ask, don't tell version of polyamory I grew up in. Mm-hmm. But my mother had, you know, a husband and boyfriend, and and then girlfriend too at some point. We didn't talk about that. But I grew up in a medical household too. My mom's a nurse. My dad worked in psychiatric care, medical field as well. And so like my intro to bodies and nudity and kind of like my human sexuality education was like big ass nursing textbooks. And I remember one specifically had to have been like, I don't know, maybe 6. Like I was young, and it was a textbook, and every page you turned, it was transparent, and you would remove.
Oh, that's cool. So you could like peel back the layers and see. Oh, that's cool.
The only thing I will say that I wish was more advanced, but I mean we're talking a while ago, is that, you know, it was only like male and female anatomy, but like it started with like clothes, and then the like clothes were removed, and then it was, you know, exterior, and it went all the way down to like bones and muscles and everything. But I thought that was the coolest fucking book. Might have confused me a little bit because I'm like, oh, where's like the bones? Where's the rest of it? Where's this layer? But no, like so I got like a more medical history of the body. I definitely grew up with like a lot of just nudity with like we'd go on vacation and like to the Bahamas and just be naked in the water. Like nudity was something that was really common. There was a point where my mom was a single mother, and so it was just me, her, and my sister, and we were just always naked in the house. Not my sister, but she was the only one that style didn't work for her. But I think that's another like point to make too, like when you're choosing like a parenting route on how you want to address like human sexuality and bodies and nakedness, is that like just because you think that that's the way that you should deliver this information based on how you grew up, doesn't necessarily automatically translate to that's the way that they need to hear it.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's just that we're so all individually different that we're kind of just trying our fucking best and thinking like, this is the most progressive way I can think of based on my experiences. They're going to grow up anyway and decide, you know, you fucked up somewhere regardless. Whether it's that or something else, you don't know until later. But
therapy for everyone.
You
get therapy.
We're already ready for a therapy bill. So.
But I mean, I do think that education is one of the best things that you can give to somebody, and one of the most like what's the word I'm trying to look for? Like non-biased ways to deliver information is through like, you know, just the educational facts, you know, anatomy or, you know, that, instead of doing like the, you know, be afraid of this. This is naughty. Like if there's a feeling, if there's an emotion attached to that education, that's probably not the correct route.
Definitely. And I think too, like just base facts really is the most age appropriate, especially for younger kids. Cause like, you know, like most kids, like around like the younger age, they just want to know, like, you know, where do babies come from? You know, where do babies come from? Why, like, how did Tia get pregnant, or like whatever?
Or which hole do I pee through?
Which hole do I pee through?
How many holes do I have?
Right.
Why is this hole bigger than that hole?
Why are my parts different than my cousin's parts? Like, you know, that kind of stuff. And I think people sometimes get wrapped up in their head because they think, oh, wow, talking about sex with children means I got to tell them like everything.
No.
You gotta stay at their level.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Exactly. And that's, when people go like, oh my God, like, how am I supposed to explain, like, gay people? And it's like, well, you're freaking out because you're not thinking about how do I explain to my child, like, gay love or gay relationship. You're thinking about the mechanics of two men having sex. You're the one that's over-sexualizing it.
Yeah.
And then freaking out. Because
Well, if they don't understand it, they're not going to be able to explain it. If they have
true.
feels that they don't understand, it's harder to explain, than just...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if there's, like you said, there's emotion behind it, it completely changes things.
Yes.
Because you don't know how to get it out there and make it make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel a lot. Like, I feel very deeply all the time. I feel lots of things. And so... Sometimes I have things that I just feel and I just can't explain it until one day something clicks and I'm like, oh, that's why I've been feeling that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And so that took a long time because a lot of this kink stuff is wild.
Just want to take a moment to thank you, good lover, for tuning in today. If something resonates with you or if you learned something new, I hope you'll share the podcast link with a friend or post it on your social media. Help others find the pod by giving the Good Love Podcast a 5-star rating and leaving a review. Thanks for helping to spread the good loving. Now, back to the show.
I think I interrupted you or something, but so how did you guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, that's
Get
what you're
into
talking
it.
about. Okay.
This is what we've been doing all day. We're fucking
yeah.
scatterbrain like that.
Me too. Thank you. I have joined the club now.
The neurodivergency is very strong in this group. It's all good.
It's really passionate people in
right?
there.
Yes. Okay, so we have actually been doing this sort of kind of dom sub sort of dynamic basically our whole marriage. We just didn't know there was so many titles and names and things. We didn't know it was such a thing because 22 years ago people didn't talk about this, and especially in Missouri where we were from. I had no idea. The regular old adult store is the first thing that got introduced to me. So with the anime, at the end of the anime, I was like, okay, where's the people?
I'm really curious. Do you remember which anime it was?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh,
It
wow.
was-
That's going real bad.
I'm like,
You're like, I just love first, so I document them all in my scrapbook.
I'm wondering if I've seen it.
Fair.
It was one of the, I just remember certain things about it, the monster. The monster cocks, it just grow out of nowhere.
You can use all the words on this.
Okay, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, don't self-censor.
But yeah, it was basically it was all the scary thing. And I'm just like, okay, I would rather watch people than whatever you just made me watch right
the
there.
tentacles.
And it's because, I saw the appeal to it. I was like, ooh, I am definitely turned on because this is fun.
Mm.
And I was also turned on a lot because I knew he was turned on because he was getting me to watch it and the whole scene,
Yeah.
But yeah,
the situation will do it for me.
Exactly.
Just make a kinky situation.
Yes.
I'm already. That's my foreplay.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, and
Context.
I loved it. Yeah.
It's the context.
But so we've been doing that for a long time. There was one time after the porn, so we got to a regular porn. I was like, oh, okay, this does make me feel uncomfortable because I wasn't happy with myself, and so I'm like, ooh, I see the arousal part of it, but I also don't feel comfortable in my own skin, so I like it, and I just did it a little bit here and there, regular people porn, I guess, to get myself used to it and to make him happy, and then and now I'm just throw it up there,
Mm-hmm.
let's go, let's have that as a background, Sometimes all you gotta do is hear it.
Like,
I used to mask
yeah.
him. I used to mask him and then like sit on him. Again, I had no idea this was a real thing, but I would, mask him up. I remember I cooked macaroni and cheese, put a little doggy bowl down for him, and I sat with my feet on his back. I didn't know this was a thing.
Oh, I love this.
I didn't know this was a thing.
And
I'm like sitting there and I'm like eating. I'm like sloppy eating my mac and cheese because it's real like gooey. You can hear it.
That would murder me. But
And I had a porn in the back, so he was hearing me like eat
literally.
the food. I was making him eat his
pot.
food.
That's so loud.
Yeah, and then I had him listen, and he's all. I mean, that you just watch like everything in him was like turned on, and so.
Did you guys okay for this just one situation like? Did you guys talk about it beforehand? Were you guys just at a point where you're like,
no,
we'll try anything? Like,
yeah,
okay.
that's
It was
basically
kind of
where we have
an
always
idea.
been. So we've never.
Okay.
So the consent thing, I love it. It makes total sense. again, had no idea it was a big thing. But with some of the things that you do, I mean, gosh, you have to have consent. Like, you know what I mean? But being married, we didn't realize that. And so it was just like, I was always like, whatever you want to try, let's try it. Like, I mean, I think that's part of our success for so long is even in those rough points, we still had like mad crazy sex, like wild. Like, I don't like you, but this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're done, I get up. You know, but like, but we still like just threw down because we knew we loved each other. It just was bad timing or whatever the situation was. And so, and that happened a few years, like every few years or so, you know, you get into one of those ruts, a 7-year itch or whatever, and that shit is real. Like, I'm like, I don't like you, but get over here. Let's do this. But so no, we didn't talk about it. It was one of those things that he was like, wow me, and I was like, cool, let me see what I can do. And then I did it, and we loved it. And like when we were done, he's like, oh, that was the best thing ever, you know. And I was like, that is so cool, let's do it again. Yeah. There was another time I came home from work, and he like threw a pillowcase over my head and like did that whole scene, you know. And again, we didn't really talk about, like, we talked about doing it at some point, but he wanted it to be a surprise. So like I came home late, and I did actually work at an adult store at the time. Okay. In Missouri, it was quite a
full
thing.
circle.
It was quite a thing. That was really where it started. I was like, oh my god. And then I found that I could talk to people so easily. Like the girls would come into the adult store, you know, the guys were basically dragging them, you know, and they were so uncomfortable. So I would make a beeline for the chick, you know. I'm like, let's talk. Like, he's here for you. Like, this is for you. And I put the ones in their place. It was like, you can't get anything bigger than me. And I'm like, oh god, this is not what it's about. It's about you two playing together, you know? Like, so that was my first, like, interaction with people that just didn't get it. I'm like, okay, now I'm here. I get it. And I see how you don't get it. Like, So, yeah, it just progressively got crazier. But, yeah, we had no idea there was names and titles and, like, all the things. I've always told him what to do. Like, you know.
So I love that you that you are like talking about this portion though, because like we did just finish up 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah. And well, I have like very different opinions on it. And I feel like there's a lot of things that are unrealistic, but so relatable. Yeah. And the reason I think that like 50 Shades of Grey is so relatable, despite all these like consent violations or that's abusive or this is wrong or whatnot. In regards to, like, you guys didn't talk about it. Yeah. And a lot of, like, in the 50 Shades of Grey movie, there's just no conversation or, like, we're contradicting our words with our actions and things like that. Yeah. And I think that's a very, very real path that a lot of us end up taking. Yeah. We don't talk about it because we're kind of, when we're so inexperienced, we're like, well, fuck, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's find out afterwards. Yeah. And
I'll tell you later if I liked it.
Yeah. And just really just like trusting your partner to be able to say like, nope, I don't want to do that. Or let's stop. And, you know, and hoping that it will go smooth. And also kind of recognizing how do we get through those moments when it doesn't go smooth. Yeah. Because I think we've all kind of been there. I don't know. I don't want to speak for y'all. But like where you try something and it's just like, that might have caused a little bit of, I gotta work through this. Like, this didn't go well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, like, so often when we're in educational spaces, we only ever, like, see, like, the role-playing and the demo of everything going just right. Right. And that's everything from, like, a flogging scene to even just, like, let's talk about how to, like, disclose our sexual health and this and that. And it's always like, okay, great. Well, you guys just role-played telling each other about your most recent tests and everything, you're both negative. What does it look like if one of it wasn't? Yeah. 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 Or like in classes, someone will say, be sure to check for this, you know, this health thing. And then they move on. It's like, but what if they do have that health thing? What then? Right. Yeah. And that's, and those are the parts that we tend to muddle through.
Yeah. That's what, I remember there was a time, I think it was after the anime, we did this thing in the living room and I had a button-up shirt on, he like ripped the shirt, all the buttons went flying and it was super hot and he like stuck a pair of socks in my mouth and then like I hear him, he's like, I'll be right back, and I hear things going on outside and I'm like, what the fuck, I couldn't see anything because I had the sock and I had the blindfold. And he ends up picking me up and taking me out to the van. And we had been married for probably 1.5 years at this point. Yeah, maybe closer to 2 years. And he threw me in the van, and so like my hometown, I know it like the back of my hand. So he was driving. I couldn't see anything. He's driving our van, and I'm like I'm tracking where we're going because I'm like, okay, left turn. I know this road. And he stops at a gas station, and like we smoked cigarettes at the time, so he went and got a pack of cigarettes, like a big fountain drink, and I'm sitting here going, I see people walking by, like I can see the shadows. I'm like, what happened?
Were you in the front seat or something?
No, I was in the back. He took the seats out of our van.
Oh my god!
Threw me in the back, bound up. Again, we didn't talk about it. We didn't know.
Yeah.
He was like, have an idea, and so we do this thing in the living room, and then he takes me. And there was at one point where I apparently skipped 2. He was driving down the edge of the road, but I lost track because that caught me off guard. I was like, this is a gravel road. Like, wait, I don't know where we are. It was actually a road I knew.
Smart.
Yes.
I like it.
Because he knew I was tracked. I was like, did you give me a drink or something like that? I was like, did you give me a drink? He's like, how'd you know? I'm like, I know we're at the fucking gas station.
Start
right
doing
down the
like
street
circles
from my
in the
house.
parking lot.
Yeah. I'm like, I get it. So, but at one point, we're in this field. I'm going to do this. They're in this field. And he gets kind of rough with me, and I loved it, but at the same time, I was like, shit, I don't really know this motherfucker. Like, what if he took me out into the field? Even a year and a half into marriage, I was like,
sure.
Shit, what did I get myself? Like, for a minute, I panicked, like a real panic. I was like, I am out in the middle of nowhere. He's being a little rougher than normal. Like, what is this? We do our thing. We all have a great time and explosions and everything. And then he opens the door. He had driven into our backyard. He was in our fucking backyard the whole time.
That's so great.
I was just like,
Great
I told him, I was like,
mindfuck.
legit?
Oh my God.
I was scared that I didn't know you well enough for like a full 5 seconds or 5 minutes, even 5 minutes. I was like, oh,
you could have
shit.
been in a fucking like grocery store parking lot.
Yeah. I'm like,
when you said field into the quotes, I was
Yes.
just like, oh my God,
You're like,
like,
what
where
happened?
Where the fuck
were
are
you
we?
at the mall? Jesus.
Yeah, he was like, I knew you would know exactly where I went, and he was like, I had to drive down that. He was like, I almost drove in the ditch. He was like, I almost drove in the ditch a little bit so that way I could throw you off. But yeah, we opened it, and he opened the door, and we like walked into the back of our house.
That's
and I was
brilliant.
like, are you kidding me? And I told him straight up, I was like, legit? Like, I was afraid for my life for a little bit. Like, just because... And he was like, that was all part of the play. Like, he was real careful. I was like, I'm like, I get it now. Like, I get it. I love it. Let's do that again. I love it, But, yeah, I'm like, legit, I was scared. Like, oh, shit, a year and a half is not enough to be out here in the middle of nowhere with some stranger.
Yeah, some huge, like, edge play and fear play.
Yeah,
It was
almost like CNC.
But that's one of my favorite stories to tell because it was so crazy and out of the box for us and me, and especially in the beginning. And, oh, man, that's one of those stories that we tell. He loves it. He's like, oh, yeah, we were in the backyard.
What a great chat. There's another 30 minutes of our shenanigans, which will be available as a bonus episode on Patreon. Remember, we now have the $1 wink and a smile tier if you're just looking to drop something in our little digital tip bucket, help keep things going, keep the lights on, keep Miss Cat caffeinated. And until next time, take care of yourselves, keep having those conversations, and keep on good loving.